Right then. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week here at the Rgm Experience podcast with me, Carl Maloney, that guy from Rgm. How are you doing? You all right? And today, ladies and gentlemen, if you're brand new to this podcast, it's a safe space for us to delve into the grassroots music industry and beyond and find interesting people within it. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an old mucker of mine from Sheffield, Matt Hook. Hey, mate.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, how you doing? You all right? Nice one.
I'm not bad, yeah.
You're back.
I'm glad we're doing this now.
Yes.
Rather than at 6 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you're back. You're back, mate. I obviously remember the early days of Cara and that kind of stuff, and I think we played with you a few times. I can't really remember. It was always a lot of beer flying around. Back in them
we've done
days,
all the same
there?
sort of circuits anyway, haven't we?
Yeah. Interesting times. Let's delve into it. So, you've got a brand new single out. We'll come to all of that. You're solo now. We'll find out how you're getting on with all that, with that business. But let's rewind a little bit. For people that aren't aware of Matt Hook, introduce yourself first, please, mate.
So, I am a singer-songwriter. That's what I sort of call myself now, I guess. An indie, my thing is sort of indie rock.
Yeah.
Very 90s themed. That's, what I sort of grew up on. I was like, I think, with all the fuss about Oasis coming out, so I was like 10 in 1994. So that whole scene of all that sort of gripped me in my teenage years. And my older cousin, he was sort of like, I think he's probably about 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
Forgive me for saying that. I don't know. He was sort of someone I sort of looked up to he was from Liverpool, but he moved to Sheffield around that time. And he was sort of someone I looked up to sort of, just with everything really. So I remember him sort of being into the Stone Roses and Oasis come along. So I sort of very much took my cue from that. I was into all that kind of thing. And then, of course, years later, I always had these daydreams about being in a band, or thought I'd never done it. I mean, I started teaching myself the guitar at 18, and it was like a mate of mine tried to get us into an open mic at a pub he ran, and I'll be honest with you, the idea of it sent like a shiver down my spine. So like he'd say like, "Do you want to get up and down?" I'd be like, just like no. Eventually, I've rehearsed a little secret set at home. I literally did, I'd never even heard myself singing back. I'd sang, in the shower and that, but I'd never heard it on a recorded device. Yeah. So I've recorded it on some makeshift phone, and I've heard it back, playing the guitar and I'm singing this song, and I thought, well, that doesn't sound too offensive, that. So I've rehearsed this little secret set for like a week, on the idea that if I'm comfortable enough when I get up to this pub where there's loads of people I know and my mate keeps badgering me, I might give it a go, as if it's off the cuff, right?
Okay.
So I go up there, and of course he says the same thing he'd said for the past 6-7 weeks, why don't you get up? And of course, what open mic nights are like. You get like proper like lone wolf, Frank Zappa types who are just like playing the guitar with the teeth or something, all this. So that's putting me off even more. Yeah. But yeah, so he goes to me, "Do you want to get up?" And I went up and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, go on, I'll give it a go." Of course, I get up there. And it was just a really weird experience because I felt mega, mega comfortable.
Nice.
And it went, I think people thought I was like drunk and, I was doing it to like sabotage the night or something. Because most of the people there didn't know I was, I'd ever sang or could even play the guitar or whatever. Yeah. So I get up and I had a really good reception. From that, a couple of lads who I sort of knew, sort of like through a mate, it was his cousin and the other lad. I think I'd met him before, I can't remember. But they come up, they basically called me in a pub about a week later and like, "Yeah, you can sing a bit. Do you want to start a band?" And I was kind of like, "Well, what's the vibe?" And they sort of explained, and I thought about it for a couple of weeks. And I thought, well, if I never do it, I was 23 or 24 at the time. And I thought, well, if I don't do this now, I'll never do it. So that was the sort of start of Cara.
Nice. So when was the first time that you realised you've got a singing voice? Like rewinding back even before, or you went through this process?
I would say
In the shower or something like that, or did you surprise yourself?
Well, I mean, it's funny because you hear these sort of stories of like famous singers and the mum or the auntie mistook them for the radio and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was always waiting for that moment. I had like a karaoke machine as a kid, so I must have had some kind of like interest in singing or whatever. And but I was always singing like, in my house and whatever. And I was sort of always waiting for that nod of approval from like any member of my family. Like, oh yeah, well, Matt, he sounds all right, and it just never came. So yeah, but I sort of always thought like, I think I can sing, but until you hear yourself back, because as you know, your own, what you hear in your own brain kind of thing isn't necessarily what is coming out to other people. So yeah, it wasn't really until I heard myself back, probably on that phone that time.
Have they ever said they like your voice? Even like
yeah, they do now.
Right, okay,
all of a sudden it was like, all right. And to be fair, over the years, like, I mean, my dad passed away a while ago now, but he became like my biggest fan overnight kind of thing, and he was really supportive. My mum, loves me singing and all that. My brother, I think he kind of remembers I do it now and again, but now and again he'll give some kind of feedback once every 5 years. Yeah. So yeah.
So what was Sheffield like growing up for you? And getting into music at the same time, because when I look back to it, I've just got so many fond memories of Sheffield at that time and the community, the musical community, and just being in and around bands and being at the Washington till 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. On weekends. And
can we swear on this, man?
Yeah, you can say what you want, mate. Yeah,
right,
definitely.
Right.
Yeah, don't hold back, mate.
Away we go then.
It's real. So I just got so many fond memories. Me personally, I've just got so many fond memories that I just really enjoyed that part of my life. How was it for you?
I mean, so I remember as far as like a local scene. I mean, I didn't really get into sort of like. I was known in my group of mates as like the indie guy.
Yeah.
The rest of them were sort of just, they liked a few tunes here and there, but they were very much just, I don't know, like they weren't proper sort of music heads. They were, it was football and messing about or whatever. But I was sort of more like, and I'm not, as I'm well aware, like if I get into sort of, if I meet proper music fans, like my breadth of knowledge about musical bands is like barely touches the surface of a lot of people in that sort of realm. But amongst my sort of group of mates, I was like sort of like, oh, Ucky likes his, he likes his sort of indie music a bit. He's a bit, he's into his guitars and all that kind of shit. And
he's one of them.
Yeah. So
I can relate to exactly what you said then.
Yeah.
Thinking about my musical taste, I get slagged off for being very narrow with my musical taste, and I'm from a similar kind of background and similar kind of music to you, which we'll have a chat about. But I was one of those. He's into music. He's one of them. When your mates around you are just like, like into other stuff.
Like you're a bit weird.
Just like, he'll be out later. He's into his music and that. He likes to laugh and that. He's all right and that, but he goes on about music a bit.
So I was, so that was sort of my thing. So I was always listening to like you say, like Ocean Colour Scene, The Verve, Oasis, Stone Roses, Cast, Stereophonics, all that sort of ilk. And then, but I was never too aware. I mean, this is sort of pre-internet days as well, to be fair. I wasn't too keyed into like what was happening on a local scene. So it was only sort of when, I remember hearing about the Arctic Monkeys breaking, because I remember a mate of mine who, again, like fancied himself as being a bit like ear to the street and stuff. He sent me like a link on an email, still got the email somewhere, and it was just like a blue link of like, and he just said, these are like the Northern Libertines, check them out, mate. And I'll be honest, like 99% of people probably do. When I text them a link, I just completely ignored it and just like left it be. Well, then I started here, and they were sort of, obviously they were going, and they broke big, and I sort of heard a Milburn through that. And just a few of the sort of more local stuff, but it wasn't until I was involved in it. And then, of course, you just open up to this world of like, I reckon when Cara was going, might have come across like 400 or 500 bands in that time. Do you know what I mean? It just felt like your sort of mindset is, oh, you form a band, and you know, there's only like a few of them kicking around in Sheffield, and then you realise like it's just, you know, there's so many people involved in music, like music scenes are sort of swamped, and there's so much going on, and I suppose that's a shame in a way, because you sort of realise like what you're missing. You know, like there'll be people out there who will think they're music fans or play, you know, whatever, and you know, rightfully so, but they will have no idea about, you know, the amount of like acts playing and all the sort of variation and all the rest of it, and they miss out on it because they're just not really. And it's just, I guess, it's just like sort of human nature of it. But you know, it wasn't until I was in it that I suddenly realised like there's literally like a sea of performers out there, and you'd never really know about it unless you tune into it.
Yeah, I can remember that. So I was definitely branded into that fucking indie group. There were more. There were loads of different genres about. They were just thinking of a few different groups out there and scenes. I suppose there were more of an electrical scene. There were more of an arty scene where they were more experimental with strings and that kind of stuff. There were more that kind of scene that kind of didn't want to speak to me at all, because I want that kid over there and that kind of stuff. And there were always that going on, and it's only since I've got older and spoke to the, you know, just, you know, because I still keep in touch with a lot of people from Sheffield, even though I weren't that close to. I still try and keep in touch with people, and I still have a relationship with people in different scenes at that time, and it's just, I don't know, it's just it was a really interesting time to reflect back on and see. And know where I am now with music, really, because I'm still a bit narrow-minded. You know, I run this magazine and that kind of stuff.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, at the end of the day, you like what you like. Yeah. Right. No one who's to tell you any different. And also, like what you just touched on there, I mean, that's a bit of an interesting point, because obviously when Cara first got going, you know, it was pretty obvious what we were about, you know what I mean? And what we wanted to be. And I've no issue with that. Like, people used to go to me, oh, it's a bit like Oasis, like, you know, like, you know, like sort of like, oh, you can't. And I was like, it's not enough like Oasis for me, mate. You know what I mean? I there's a reason I loved Oasis, because I love the sound and all everything come with it. So, like, if I'm going to make music, you know, it's gonna be the stuff that grips me, and funny enough, that's the stuff I'm into. So, we definitely got a bit of that. You could tell there was a little bit of snaring from certain circles at the time. It's just like, oh, you know, they're a bit like, oh, I'm trying to. And I was like, you know what, mate? Yeah, we are. And if you want to go and play, you know, clarinet or something, and you know, whistle to frigging 2 people or whatever, and call yourself a genius, you know, knock yourself out, because there's room for that as well. But you don't need to knock what I'm doing. You know what I mean? You
couldn't knock. Well, you couldn't hide from being compared to Oasis in those days. When they first come out. I know they've just come out now, and that's exciting. But that was late 90s ish, I think. I'm rubbish with dates, but it was definitely late 90s. And every time we did a gig, it's, oh, you just trying to be like Oasis. I'm like, yeah, I know, because it's a powerful thing that gripped us as kids, weren't it? When Oasis came out, you couldn't really couldn't really fight it. Really, it was just there.
And the thing was, you know, I'm under no illusions. Like, if it wasn't for Oasis and subsequently that sort of scene, no way I'd have been looking at a guitar. And you know, whether I'd have been singing, I doubt I'd have been, because I wouldn't have really imagined, you know, until you get sort of normalish lads. I'm saying normalish in a sort of, you know, in a sort of sense that you seem normal to me in that sort of Harry sort of word and all the rest of it. I mean, I couldn't see myself being on like a pop art. Do you know what I mean? Like I was never going to be another Rick Astley. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's
Don't put yourself down, mate. Don't put yourself down. You could have gone that way. You could have gone that way.
I'd never give you up. You know what I mean? I'd never give you up. No. But I just think if it wasn't for that, you know, I wouldn't really sort of be seeing a place for sort of me in music, just because, you know, it wasn't really. I don't know, but if it wasn't for Oasis, I wouldn't be doing this now, and I wouldn't be done it in the past and all the rest.
What do you think about the big reunion while we're on? Right.
I think it's I'll tell you what I love more. As I say, I'm not desperate to get. I don't know if we were recording this, but we had a bit of a chat about it when we first got online. I'm not desperate to get tickets on Saturday, at least. I'm not doing all that palaver. Down the line, I'd like to go to some gig at some point. I'm sure there'll be loads of my mates going. I'm sure I'll know loads of people. If I don't get tickets for anything, I won't be absolutely devastated. But, you know, as I said, I'd like to go. I think the thing I've enjoyed the most in a way is just sort of seeing that buzz about it all and from a different generation, because for the day, at least, it did feel like it reminded me of being 20 years ago or whatever, when, you know, it was just like to see that sort of fuss. I've not seen it about anything since. And I think that's a testament to them, you know, for all the people that might want to knock them. You know, you just don't get this kind of buzz with anyone else. I've just never seen it. And
the Stone Roses one was the closest one that I can remember. But I don't know if time's just faded my memory a little bit, but it didn't feel as big as what this is. Yeah,
I agree. And I just think like I just think that that day. What was it when it came out? What was it? Was it 27th?
Yeah, I
can't remember what day that was, but anyway. But it just like it, you know, that sort of buzz. It did feel great again, because I'll be honest with you, the last 10 years or so, I couldn't really even tell you who's. You know, I know Taylor Swift sells loads of records or whatever, but I couldn't tell you who's in the charts. I couldn't tell you. You know, if I was to stop at an average 20-year-old in the street, I couldn't have a guess at who the favourite group, artist, whatever it is. I've got no interest in it, and I've got no sort of connection to it, a lot of it. So it was nice just to feel for the day. Oh, like we're all, you know, mostly on the same page with something 24 hours.
I've got a little bit of a thing. I think Liam Gallagher's solo stuff, particularly doing a lot of Oasis songs, has cheapened this reunion a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Just because it's, you know, or has it created a bit more of a buzz with the younger generation out there that all went to his gigs?
Yeah, I can see both sides. Yeah. I can see, obviously, if neither of them had touched it for 15 years, then it's like, you know, people are climbing up the walls to hear their songs again and see it live and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I get that side. But I think probably on the flip side, like you say, it's more Liam than Noel because of his whole sort of persona, his demeanour, whatever. He sort of kept the young uns interested because he has that sort of side to him, whatever. Yeah. So I think him probably, you know, he had in the end, it sort of turned out into a very successful sort of solo career, you know, doing the big gigs. I think maybe without that and him doing the Oasis stuff, I don't know, it'd have been a different vibe and get back together. I don't know if it'd have been bigger or not. Yeah. It might have been more, you know, something for the people who were there sort of first time around, rather than the young ones who are now invested. So yeah, I can see both sides.
It's beautiful how music can lift like a country, though, isn't it? You know, just this announcement just feels everybody's, particularly online. I don't know what it's like out there in the real world. I should go out there more and find out. But yeah, particularly yeah, fair enough. Particularly online, it's, you know, people are just so excited about it. It's just just a nice vibe around the country at the minute.
Well, do you know what? Just on that touch, and a little bit of self-promo here. Anyway, so I've done I played an acoustic. The Lead Mill put on. It was in Orchard Square. So last Saturday or something, whatever. It's about a week ago. And me and Kyle, one of my guitarists, we just did a little, like, there was a thing on all day, line up on all day. We did a little acoustic set. And to be honest, since I've started playing back, whatever, I've pretty much played Live Forever, just because it's my favourite song, at a lot of the gigs, most of them, in fact. So we did an acoustic one of Live Forever. Anyway, I put it on TikTok, right, which is where it all happens these days, apparently. And it's gone like mad. So all the young ones are going absolutely losing their minds over this random guy they don't know singing Live Forever live in the middle of the shopping. He sings Sheffield. But it's got I think it's got about 17,000 likes or something. So we're all there, so nice. Up the TikTok.
Yeah, nice one. Well, so just rewinding a little bit then. So the band started, some kids heard that you started singing.
Yeah.
Is that how Cara was born, or were you called different things before that? Or?
No, right. So Cara was, so these two lads, One of them was a cousin of, you'll know the lad I'm on about, a kid called David Mitchell, we all called Daz. And he was knocking about Sheffield bands for ages, and he was in Mabel Love, and he was in, I remember there was a band before it, I can't remember the name off the top of my head now. But he was always kicking around in bands. I think he was in one called Wolfman, something, very recently as well, but I was a bit out of the way of all that. So I knew him through his cousin, so they got me rehearsing, and then once we were into it, we were kind of like, well, yeah, and we got on dead well. And it was just sort of like, oh, this is great, kind of thing. There's the three of us. Then we got a fourth, who was like a lad who they sort of knew again. A little bit different from us, but a really lovely kid. We rehearsed 6 months without a drummer, like literally religiously. We did about 2 or 3 rehearsals a week. We finally got a drummer. We had another drummer come in who I don't think he'd ever drummed before, and he was that bad he left his drum kit there to save the embarrassment of him trying to get it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was mad. And the thing is, we'd never had a drummer before, so we're all looking around like, is this how it's meant to go? Like he was proper out of time and he was off a bit. And I'm thinking like, oh, is this just what they're like? You know what I mean? Like, does it take them a while? Yeah. And then we sort of got the next drummer and we realised like, yeah, he was all over the place. And Ash come in, he was only 17. And he was the drummer throughout. And then the band name was, we didn't want something that was because there was a load of bands at the time called The Something or The This, and we didn't want that. We also didn't really want something that, like, if you said it, you thought something physical or, the radiators or whatever, or the window cleaners or something like that. We wanted something that you just said a word and you had no other, it didn't conjure up anything in your mind apart from our band. Yeah. And so with that knowledge, we went to, I went on a Google word generator or something. Got a list of like 20 random words. Cara stuck out just the way it looked, written down the way it sounded. And I took it to the rehearsal room and I just sort of showed it. And one of the lads, Joe, just said, oh, yeah, Cara. And I was like, yeah, that sticks out for me as well. And that was pretty much it, because we were sort of the ones driving the band, really. And it was just, I've since learned it means card in Croatian or something.
Oh, nice. Drummers have always been hard work, particularly because there's not a lot of them about either, is there? So you've got to try and steal one from somewhere or find one from under the bed sheets over there, or I don't know, just beg, borrow and steal them, really, I suppose, with drummers in Sheffield at that time, weren't it? How did you land on your lad?
So we had, remember, I mean, this is like, we put, again, sort of I don't know if it was pre-social media, it felt like it was pre-social media. So at least, if not some of the others, I've gone round with a piece of paper with a printed message on saying, change your life, in massive, massive font. And it's just gone, we're looking for a drummer.
Well, that's good.
So we stuck that in like random places in town. Yeah. I just remember, because like a few people did approach us from that. And it was just like, it was like a little marketing, whatever, I don't know. Something we thought was good anyway. Yeah. And he just said, change your life, massive, right? We're looking for a drummer, email list, whatever. I'll be honest, I can't remember how we got in touch with him. I don't know if he saw that or someone somewhere knew of it or whatever it was. But anyway, he was 17. I don't know if he'd been, I think he just did jam nights. Right. But I mean, the funny thing is, like, the joke there is like, yeah, drummers are a nightmare and all the rest. He was absolutely brilliant, because you know what? He just come, really talented, but he had no he was the most laid back, easygoing kid. And he wasn't like, he was more than happy to come, take some instructions and just do it. And he had no fuss about him. And he was committed, he was there from the get-go, he's there till the very end. So he was a great lad. And it was quite funny because he's a really good-looking kid, right? So literally, I mean, I've only met a few lads in my life who've had this sort of effect on the opposite sex, but like, he was one of them. So we'd be doing a gig, I'm there mid-20s, trying to like steal the show, you know what I mean? And you just get like these hordes of women afterwards just asking, like 5 minutes after you finish it, who's your drummer? Yeah. It's like, this ain't the way it's supposed to be, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not supposed to be this way around. Yeah. But yeah, he was great. He was a great lad.
So you got rid of him then?
Should have done, shouldn't I? But No, he was. I mean, so in Cara, we ended up having 9 members in total. The bass player and the leads changed 3 times, like kind of thing. But me, Ash, and Joe were the sort of constant in all of it. Although technically they never disbanded, so I'm not the full member either.
Well, you quickly built up a strong following for the band quite quickly. I can remember, as I say, my memory's a little bit hazy these days, looking back back that many years. But how did it feel in Cartica when you started playing a few gigs? How did you feel it was going and progressing?
So of course we've done all this rehearsing for about 6 or 7 months before we'd ever played a gig, and of course at that age, I was on some like fate-driven mission, believe fully, and I mean this. I was absolutely convinced we were going to be the big, biggest of the big time, and it wasn't bravado. Or like I genuinely, when I heard them songs, the first songs, I just thought, right, we're all right. Yeah. And I didn't really realise all the sort of nooks and crannies of the musicians in general. I was a bit more, romantic about it, thinking, all right, we just need the good songs and blah blah blah. But I heard it, I thought, wait till people hear these. And of course, that's not quite the way it works, but in your head, I had that sort of thing. So I was going, even before we'd ever played the gig, I was going out telling anyone, listen, mate, you want a bit, like, I'm in a band, and wait till you hear us, wait till you see us, and all this kind of stuff. And I meant it. And so there was a buzz around all my mates and all the rest of it before we'd ever played a gig, purely because I was talking, I was literally driving it home to all these people. So the first gig we ever did, we did a little warm on in Sheffield in the middle of nowhere in a pub to about like 10 of his mates, and then we did a headline one at what used to be called the Red Room in Sheffield, which was Empire Bar before that, and it's now the Light Cinema and all the rest of it. And we sold about 300 tickets for it, or 350 tickets, and because I remember we took the first batch of tickets. And it was, I don't know if you remember a guy called Paul Metcalf. He used to have his brother, Wes, and I think it was Dan, the 3. They used to run a load of venues and nightclubs and all the rest of it. But Paul was always into his sort of trying to, give live music a go as well. So I remember he gave us like 100 tickets, and he comes back to us. We come back to him about a week later. I was like, we need some more, mate. And I could tell his face was a bit like, because he just was like, it's just another band night on a Friday night or whatever, there's 100 tickets between whatever. And then we come back for some more, and I could tell he was just like, freaking hell, do you know what I mean? Like, what's this all about? So we played, and we weren't great, to be honest. It was before, even though we'd rehearsed for ages, still loads of stuff we hadn't really ironed out with, as far as just equipment and all the rest of it. But it was a mega night, and but I think a lot of the people who come that night, it was just mates, and they thought it was like a one-off. Do you know what I mean? They thought it was just like, oh, these lads are going to do like a band night or something. So then it was kind of from having that high, we played like the Boardwalk like a week later on a Tuesday night or something. We played to about 5 people. So suddenly it was like, right, it's not all going to be, these euphoric, nights where it's just a one-way ticket to Wembley Stadium. It's going to be loads of just nothing, that gigs, whatever. But through time and through sort of, we did some demos, we got them out. We started getting to a point where there was a bit of a crowd and there was a bit of a following, and suddenly, like, we used to play a load of gigs with a band called Section 60, you'll remember. Smith, Tomo, Tom who ran them, and Chris and Addy, and they had a few members over the years. Luke, who's now playing bass with me tomorrow. So through, and they were a bit more established than us, and they really sort of had the football crowd with them, which of course was the market we were sort of, that was what we wanted as well. And so it just fit us perfectly, because we got on with them, we had a great time, we'd do a lot of gigs. More often than not, we'd support them. It didn't matter to us. They'd support us sometimes. But of course, that their crowd, we were tailor-made for that as well. Do you know what I mean? So they were all coming to us. And before you know it, we did. But there was a buzz about us, and it was sort of really, you felt it. But for a year or two, I definitely felt like. Well, I remember getting spotted in Sheffield and stuff like that.
Well, I can remember when our band, The Sound at the time, we kind of got labelled like a bit of a footy band and that kind of stuff, and it kind of held us back a little bit.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
We kind of like, we did have a bit of a football following, because we went.
And we mean the sort of football firms, don't we? Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the
casual scene.
Yeah, the casual scene, and we big Sheffield United fans. We went to the match. We advertised as gigs at the football and that kind of stuff, and it did bring a lot of negativity towards the band sometimes, with the type of people that were coming as well. Sometimes that took a bit of a toll on my band personally. Was that a similar kind of thing for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, it was never like the gig atmospheres were always good. You never felt it was like overly. I mean, we played some moody places and we played some moody crowds or whatever. But the actual sort of headline gigs we did, which had a lot of the sort of football, firm element to them, they were good. They were good atmospheres and that. And what it did do, there was definitely, again, some of the sort of movers and shakers in Sheffield, in other camps at that time. It gave them an easy excuse to sort of, push us away a little bit, because there was a bit of a us and Section 60 together, we were, as far as the local thing, we shifted quite a lot of tickets, and we were doing gigs that if you're on a local level, you couldn't really ignore, kind of thing. And so I think there was definitely elements of other cliques that were sort of, they weren't sure about where they stood in comparison to us and all the rest of it. And so you definitely felt like there was a bit of a shunning in the fact that, they're just like, well, there's going to be loads of football hooligans at their gigs, so we won't include them, or we won't put them on, or whatever. So it was a double-edged sword, but I mean, I wouldn't change that side of it for anything, because they were a good crowd. We had really good nights. We had nights with a lot of people there, and as I say, there was never any trouble. The only time there was ever it's quite a funny story, I might save it for a bit later, I don't know, but it was like a mad night and after party. I can go into that now.
Let's go into it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so we played at a place called Dada Bar. I don't know if you remember it. No, sorry, that was the after party. We played the O2
Dada Bar. Oh yeah.
So
where would Dada Bar now? What was that? Was that up?
It was on like Trippet Lane.
Yes.
It was only called Dada Bar for about like 6 months or something. Yeah, it was something. It was one of them. It kept changing names, but we had an after party there. So anyway, we go in, and this was probably at the height of Cardiff or whatever. Because I remember the after party was Ram, never mind a gig, and I'm literally like signing CDs for people and all this jazz and whatever else. And then it's just, I can't remember what exactly happened, but basically it was something to do with like one of the lads' sisters. I don't know if someone tried to have a bloke who tried to have a pop at her, but before you know it, I've had about like six sambucas or something, and I've gone flying in and the floor's that slippy that I'm literally like banana skinning it into this melee. And then the DJ, who was our DJ, he's like cobbing freaking glass bottles and everything like it, and you're just like freaking hell, mate. If he is one of them, he's we'll see you later kind of thing. And of course, the lot's just gone up, and it was just mayhem. It was like the Wild West. And then, of course, within like minutes or whatever, there was just like riot van after riot van after riot van. And I don't know if they were pre-aware of it or not, because our gigs, especially Section 60's gigs, they definitely got like the police were aware of them. Do you know what I mean? Because there was this idea that there was going to be this sort of, and as I say, 99% of the time it wasn't. But, So I remember this dad. Before you know it, they shut the whole place down. So there's about 300 people in this frigging after party, and then like the whole thing just empty. Yeah, it's just like, I remember just walking, and I'm thinking like, is anyone going to try and like collar me over it or whatever else? And he didn't. But yeah, it was just mayhem because there was like riot van. Some dude's got blood all pouring down his head. It was just like, it was like a classic sort of. You watch them police camera. What is it? Booze Britain or whatever. It was like one of them. But I remember other stuff like tramline. There was situations with Section 60 tramlines where there was something going on. I won't say too much on that because it's not my story itself.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there was a bit of a lively element, but it was never most of the time, it was like a brilliant atmosphere.
Yeah, it was very well. It was very exaggerated, that kind of stuff. Just from like having our little part in it, you know, it kind of put a little bit of a shadow on it. I don't know how to kind of like, mention more on that. Really, it was what it was, I suppose.
Yeah. It's, do you know what? Like that sort of, there's an element of society and gig going public that that is that's some sort of vibe, and I don't think it should be looked on. It's easy to play high and mighty, sort of morally, or like, a bit lively, that, but at the same time, there's other genres or whatever where there's all sorts going on, and people are a little bit happy to sort of give that a bit of a leeway, like some moshes, Eddie Rock, and try and bleed and stab each other or whatever. I don't know. I'm throwing stuff out there, but whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So how did the band come to its end then? What happened? Come on.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit of just basically me and Joe, who were the main sort of guys in it. We all, at times we got on really, really well, and we had a good, at times, I felt like Joe was like, one of the best mates I ever had, kind of thing. But we also had a side that there was a possibility for tension, and generally it never really happened over the years. But as time went on, we just started clashing over things, and I just felt there was certain sort of stuff. Again, I'm not going to go into some things or whatever, because just one, I've left in the past, and two, it's on top. But there were just things that I just sort of found myself thinking like we're moving apart, and I just didn't really get the vibe. There were things as well, like musically and band wise, there was meant to be. Again, my memory's a little bit hazy because this is all another story whatsoever, but like there was loads going on in my life, so my own sort of state wasn't the best, so my sort of my memory of it is a little bit hazy, I'll be honest, but there was stuff with the band's sort of side where I think we were meant to release a single, and we had a manager at the time. We had Neil Hargreaves. He'd come in. He's aggressive management. And he was great, Neil, to be fair. But I was already sort of checking out a little bit at this point. And like, I remember there was a song, and then they released the other song. And it was just like there was stuff going on that I wasn't really happy with. And just on a personal level, I just thought me and Joe were not going on a sort of smooth sort of run, and I just got to the point where I thought, you know what, I've kind of had enough of this. I've given it 6 years of my life. I'd broke me back like with so much of donkey work around being in a band, which again, and I've said this to all of them, to be honest, and whether they agree with me or not, because I have had contact with all of them since I've left, and some of them, like I seen Josh last week, in fact he texted me yesterday, so I've got decent relationships still with most of them, and but I felt like I was, I was doing everything I could for that band behind the scenes, and I didn't necessarily feel it was getting matched by everyone else. And that was another bugbear of mine as sort of time went on. I just thought there's only so long I'm going to, sort of put everything in my life on hold to try and break me back to make this kind of work. And again, whether some of them, they all know I think that, or whether they agree with it is up to them.
It's not an uncommon thing in bands, that though.
Yeah.
It makes life 10 times harder when everybody's not doing or as passionate about it as what you are.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing with our lot was they were passionate about it, and like in a way, if I think to it, we rehearsed all the time. We sort of lived it, but there was just, like I would literally go out. I still do this now. Like I'd literally go out and put posters up on my own, like, and just do stuff like, do you know what I mean? Just go the extra mile. I'd go and put CDs through people's letterboxes, demo CDs, just like on Friday night. And of course, there's very few, as it turns out, there's very few people who are going to sort of join you on that kind of mission. I was trying to book gigs left, right, centre. I was always trying to do stuff to sort of further our band, and And as I say, along with personal stuff and along with just everything else in my life, to be honest, at that point, which again is pretty well documented, you can Google all this, everything else was going wrong as well. So I had a new baby. I was splitting with a mum. My dad was dying. My brother had cancer. I lost my job. So like there were 5, 6 things, and then I had all the tensions with the band or whatever. So everything in that sense just went, you know, it was just, too much really.
Yeah, I can imagine. So the band ended then. So you've had a bit of a break. How long have you had a break from music since going back solo then? What?
So I left the band in 2014, I think, right. And they carried on technically. They did some more gigs. We started recording stuff, which I don't think they brought out. They might have brought out 1 or 2 singles early on. But technically, that's never disbanded. You know, there's never been an official, that band is finished and we're all off, see you later. But I was out of it, you know, from when I left, I didn't touch a guitar for 3 years. And that's like a literal thing.
Did they not support you as much as what you probably needed at that time then, do you think?
Say again.
Did the lads not support you as much as what you probably needed at that time?
I wouldn't really say I was. Well, I probably wasn't contactable, to be honest.
Right, fair enough.
I don't think some of them knew how to approach me at that time.
Just like what, like as in lads can't speak to lads about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but
I find
also,
it difficult
I just
to
think,
open up and that
I
kind
think,
of stuff, like lads.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've never really. I don't know. Maybe I don't feel like I'm like that. I feel like I'm pretty chill, sort of talking about. Even back then, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah. But it was more just that sort of once I'd, you know, I was like, once I'd sort of cut that cord at that point, I didn't really respond to them. Yeah. Not that they were, you know, beating down my door kind of thing, but it was like some of them definitely made ways of trying to contact us or whatever. And I might have like had a little text message and that, but I think they were used to us being at like hell, and they probably didn't really understand or didn't know how to sort of process the idea that I wasn't, and then how they'd sort of interact with me. Because I was like, but I think I'm more relaxed now. At that point, I was a bit of a force of nature. You know, I know that myself because I knew how I was. So I think they would have been a little bit like just not really sure how to sort of take us. Yeah, I don't know. But you know, I've got no sort of grievances about their, you know, approach to me as I left, because I was sort of going down my own route with a lot of other stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, during that time, I just like I tried to disassociate from it, if anything, to be honest. I remember I'd be somewhere and you know, if I caught wind of someone who might know me as being Cara or whatever, I'd just like make a beeline to get out of there. I just wanted to I didn't want to reminisce about it. I didn't want to talk about, you know, and chat to people and sort of, I almost wanted to pretend it had never happened. I don't know. I was just like, I just wanted to get out. Not what, you know, I'm not talking like, as you well know, I'm not talking about some like big fame thing. It was just that local sort of scene and all that. And I just didn't want anything to do with it. I don't know really why that was. I don't know if it was just because of all the stuff that was going off in my life. I just couldn't. Maybe I just couldn't be bothered with the conversations about, like, you know, about it. Or I don't know. But for a while, I was definitely like that.
So I suppose I'm presuming you took a few years off just to get your head around life again, and you tell me, is that what it was? I don't want to presume anything there.
Yeah. It was just, as I say, so I was, you know, I went through some really tough times, which again is not news really, but I don't want to bore everyone to death for talking about that necessarily. But yeah, I definitely went through some tough times, just psychologically, whatever, personally, however you want to phrase it. And then I never really had, I'd have like, as time went on, obviously, I had a bit of a passing thought at music. And to be fair, I think the first time I actually picked a guitar, and then, literally picked the guitar up. So I've been in the pub, because I was going to the pub a lot at a particular point. And I'd just be there, like, with one of my mates and just spend all, like, Tuesday night in the pub or something and whatever else. Not like, I never was, like, drinking heavily day after day. It was just, like, I wasn't doing a great deal, do you know what I mean? I was just, like, loitering in the pub. So, anyway, I've heard the Noel Gallagher song come out, the Dead in the Water. And it just, like, I'd not checked out music for whatever. But I heard this song, and however it comes to me, and I was just like, it hit home kind of. I was just like, I loved it. And so I've gone home that night after a few pints, and I've gone and rifled for my guitar, and I've thought, I've got a little chord sheet up and Googled it and whatever, and I've played it, and I was just like, so I'll get my phone out, recording, more to see if I can still sing sort of normal, whatever, you know what I mean? Just curiosity. Anyway, I play it, I sing it. It's like a bit of a, crappy little dimly lit video. And I was quite happy with, I look back at it, I listen back, I'm quite happy with it. So I've stuck it on like my Facebook the day after or something. Of course, no one's heard me singing for a few years. Some people might have known I wasn't in the best of play, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. But for whatever reason, purely on my own personal sort of Facebook, it sort of like really, everyone was onto it. They were liking it and commenting and all the rest of it. It really, it was one of the best received things I've ever done on my own sort of personal stuff. So that was like the first time. And then, of course, I don't know if that sort of sparked something, because then I wrote a couple of songs, and I'm sort of doing the same little process. I do the odd little video now and again, just personally, and people react to it, and it was all, it's great to hear you sing again and all this kind of stuff. And I suppose the lockdown happened, and then, you're doing nothing. So I'm doing these things now, guitars, sitting on YouTube, half for me and half for almost like, entertaining the troops kind of thing. It was like everyone's sat home, scratching their ears. Yeah. And so it sort of just baby stepped, and then Section 60, obviously, we don't do many gigs anymore. I know they're doing new stuff now under a different name, or they're gonna come back with stuff. But they were doing a gig in Kelham Island, and a mutual friend, they were looking for support. He's tagged me, what do you reckon? Chris has messaged me, the singer. It's just like, do you want to do it? And I was, honestly, it was like, this is 7 years down the line now.
Yeah.
Such a 50-50 sort of thing. I thought, like, I don't know, I really don't know. And of course, I went for it, and it was one of the most enjoyable, relaxed gigs I've ever done. Yeah. And from there, things have just naturally snowballed.
It was so nice to see, because when you sent me a new tune, I go, oh, nice one, Matt's back. That's nice.
Yeah,
nice one. And the quality of the tune, how much time you'd spent on it, that all shone through, and the voice is there again. It's it's shining through. How has it been now? You're a couple of singles in, and obviously you've got your new single as well. Tell us about that too.
Yeah.
How has it been like releasing music again, and how's it been for you?
It's just been a bit of a whirl, like, a relative whirlwind. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, the first year, I did that gig that I'm on about, I think the end of 2021. And then, of course, it was like, oh, mate, not until like 6 months later, I might do another one. Yeah. And then, of course, once I've done the second one, it's like I am going to do this a little bit now kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then I'll do a full band one. Then it's, I tell you what, I've got these songs, I'm going to go and record, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So that first year, or year and 18 months, it was great, just because it was so sort of, everything was just sort of fresh and new again. And of course, from that, I've had some pretty good opportunities. I've had some pretty good things happen. 6 Music, Radio X, various gig offers. And then, of course, you sort of, I've done like, a couple of headline ticket jobs, which the first one sold out, even though the ticket uptake wasn't as great, because you only have capacity for about 150 people at this place, and then 70% of the people who buy tickets turn up. Do you know what I mean? So it was sold out technically, although it didn't particularly feel like it. Like sardines on the night. Yeah. And then of course, I suppose there are times now, 2 or 3 years in, where you do have sort of lulls, and it is. You remember all the sort of plodding and hard work and sort of a few dead ends and all the rest of it. But generally, I'm coming back to it with a pretty nothing to lose attitude, and I'm not really, it's not the be all and end all for me. Whatever happens with all this stuff, I'm doing it for me more than anything, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing now without really trying to chase. When you're 23 or 24 doing it, you think you want to change the world. Yeah. Now, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and whether that leads anywhere more than where I'm at now, so be it. Great, but if not, I'm content with, I'm enjoying what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. But yeah, you definitely, you have that sort of initial buzz, and it's all new, it's all novelty again, and then it becomes a bit more. Yeah. You just sort of teeter along and generic. But I've had some great opportunities. I did the fan zone in Red Green in the summer. Singing. Singing Sweet Caroline more than anything. But it was 4 songs, so. I'm singing that to maybe 1,500 people at the end of the match, which was just like
I used to like that song.
Yeah.
Gets on my nerves.
So did I.
It gets on my nerves now.
So did I. But I loved, I loved doing that. That was a brilliant experience. Yeah. And then hopefully this thing tomorrow, that'll be a mega sort of gig. And I've done all these other ones, and I've got, do you know what? I've got to say as well, actually, like I've just had some sort of good, I've come across a few people, like, so Dave McCabe out at Zootons, come across him, and I'd like just more through chance than anything, I had a bit of a chat. And he sent me a message about one of my songs, you know what I mean? John McClure, I've got to mention John. Yeah. Because I've got so much time for John. Because I knew John a little bit back in the day, right? He sort of knew who I was. I obviously knew who he was. But maybe, if I saw him, it'd be no more than a sort of surface level 2-minute chat. Yeah. And then I bumped into him in 2 or 3 years ago, like in Costa Coffee of all places. And literally sat and chatted to him, because he recognises, and I was like, and we sat and chatted about football. We didn't even talk about anything to do with music, nothing at all. Anyway, he comes into, I was working on a bar about 3 or 4 months ago, if that. And he comes in, and it's like no one in. So he'd obviously just come to be there in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. And he's like, all right, I'm talking, man, what are you doing? How are you doing? Sort of thing. And then we had a chat, and obviously, as is well known now, his dad's passed away. Yeah. So his dad was ill. And his dad was ill with the exact same thing my dad passed away from. So we had a really good sort of just like half an hour chat. And I just thought, I don't know, that seemed to be what he needed at that moment kind of thing. And obviously it was great for me to chat to him. But he was just so sort of, so sort of warm and open with me. And he's talking about his brother Chris. And he's like, oh, Chris, wait till I tell our Chris I've seen it. All this kind of stuff. And he just come across, I just think him in particular, considering the levels he's been at or he is at or whatever you want to call it, and he's so sort of open to grassroots level music, and I see a load of stuff he's done, where he'll sort of shine a sort of spotlight on people, local stuff. So I just wanted to drop him in there because I've got a lot of time.
I'll definitely second that. He was the first big artist to offer his time, and when I was doing my stupid little videos on YouTube, driving about in a car, he was the first big artist to say yes and gave me a chance to, and that kind of, from him saying yes, I was able to get other guests on the show and the podcast and that kind of stuff. So I'll second every word you've just said about John. I completely agree with you. He's an absolute class bloke. Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah. I was just going to mention, so the other thing, because you asked me before, was the new single.
Yeah, let's talk about that then.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a song I wrote, about 15 years ago. And of course, originally we performed it with Kartika and for Kartika. Yeah. Performed it a few times. We never recorded it. whether there was plans to or not, I'll never really know. But obviously, it's just, even when I wrote it, it was like it's got a particular feel to it. It's a pretty sort of melancholy track in one way. It's pretty uplifting in another, however you want to take it. And it's always been one that I've really liked. You know, when you write your own song, you know, you sort of have ones that maybe hit home a bit more than others. So it's always been, so even when I come back to doing stuff, I was always like, oh, I'll stick that in the set. I was, you know, I always like that one. And I've played it more often than not at gigs, and then I've gone and recorded it with Tufty, who I've done, you know, quite a few recordings with. And I just, I really like the sound of it, and it was just a sort of natural progression to release this one. The people I played it, obviously it's out now, or it's been premiered or whatever.
Well, you'll only have to you'll only have to click the link in the description of this podcast to hear the new single "Suspended Belief."
There you go.
It's a tune, mate, and you know we're going to be covering it on RGM, or have covered it. Depends when this interview comes out, but it's a really nice class. It's classic Matt Hook. I don't know that I don't know. When I said classic, I just thought, why am I sounding like a wanker? Why don't I have better words to describe things? Is what I'm trying to think of.
It's exquisite, Matt.
Yes, there we go. Yeah. I'm just trying. Words fail me a little bit there. I didn't want to do you down. I felt like I did you down there a bit. Well, I didn't mean to. It's a class tune anyway.
Yeah, well, do you know what I mean? It's one of them. Obviously, when you do these songs, you play it to people you know, you play it to mates. And, you know, more often not, we're not as mates like they, but you send them a song and they go, oh, yeah, I like it, mate. You know, yeah, it's good on that, mate. Yeah. But this was one that, like, they sort of approached me with the feedback before I'd asked them, if that makes sense. So, and I could just tell, like, people like, that is a proper tune. Like, you know, you almost felt like, well, it felt more genuine maybe than sometimes some of the feedback you get. So I really like it. It's quite ironic now because the song is about sort of looking back or trying not to look back or not getting wrapped up about looking back, which is, of course, you know, a bit of a human condition that you always try not to, but you sort of, that's where you come from, that's your life. So you do get roped into thinking about the sort of past and stuff. Of course, the irony now is, even though I wrote it when I was 24, in the midst of sort of Cara, or at the start of Cara, whatever, it's now sort of applied to that as well. So you know, there's an irony in sort of the fact it was wrote then, but it now relates to that. And the video, I think the video is really good as well. My daughter actually filmed the bits of the sort of more performance bits, which was a nice little thing.
Oh, nice. So you've had a few singles under your belt now. Is there going to be an album or out like that planned? I don't want to like.
Yeah, no. Do you know what? I mean, originally the plan was to do an album. The only problem is time just seems to be flying by, and people's availability and my availability and the funds that it takes. I'm just wondering whether that's kind of bit the dust a little bit at the minute. I would love to have included all these batch of songs as part of an album. Whether that'll really happen, I don't know. I might try and include them as an EP instead or something. I don't know.
Never say never, mate. You never know.
Yeah. I've got a title for it anyway.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Top secret. So.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I look forward to maybe hearing it one day, the title of the album, whatever, you know. But yeah, so, I've really enjoyed catching up with you today, mate. Thanks for joining us today. Within the description of this podcast, there's loads of links in there where you can catch all Matt's stuff and get involved and follow him and just basically get involved. Why not? Is there anything you want to leave the people watching this video, a little message just to, then I'll let you get on with your day today, pal?
Yeah, just that I'm the best ever singer there's ever been.
He's back.
You should listen. No, just, you know what, the responses I've had for most of my stuff and the responses sort of live have been great. It is what it is, you know, like, not under any illusions about where I am in the food chain, for the musical climate or anything like that. But just you know, I don't know, if you're into sort of the similar musical vibes as I am, I think I do my stuff as good as anyone does. You know, I think I do that kind of thing as good as anyone. So check it out, and you never know. Don't be afraid to let your love show.
Yeah,
baby.
Nice one. Matt Oak, thanks for joining us today, pal.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
All right, you too, Carl. Catch up with you soon, mate. All right, ta-ra.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my little studio. We're just having a look around. This is where I record loads of good chats. And you know that already because you've just finished one. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed it, have a look around. Look at this. There's different videos all around here. New videos that you can enjoy too. I promise you, it'll be all right. Nice one. Thanks for tuning in again, guys. See you soon.